The time is up, and now our next speaker is ready. Alon from Dropbox, Usability versus Security. Please applause to Alon. And our usual check. Alon, please say something.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Yes, that works. You have the stage for 30 minutes, and please, audience is yours.
Hi, everyone. So nice to see all of you today. So my name is Alon. I'm a tech lead at Dropbox, and I came all the way here from Tel Aviv, Israel, to talk with you about the one thing I am most passionate about, which is football. So if you thought this is your way to run away from the World Cup, you might be wrong, because this is something I really like. So anybody recognizes this team? It's a hard question. So this is the Scottish national team, and they are not the best in the world today. And the reason that they are here is because I was in Scotland, in Edinburgh, just in March. And you know, when some people, when they travel abroad, they like to see museums, art galleries, things like that. I prefer, my cultural thing is football, so I like to go to games. And when I was there, I thought, well, that can be a great opportunity to see a game. And I saw this team was playing, so I want to see if there are tickets for that game. But you see, I'm not Scottish, so how do you get tickets for that game? Well, I didn't know. But there is something I always do when I don't know something. It's called Google. So I Googled, hey, are there available tickets for Scotland against Ukraine? And Google is still not smart enough to give me the answer, but at least it can refer me to a site when I can find the answers, right? So I went to this site, and at the bottom I saw a button, buy online. So I pressed this button just to be redirected to another site where you can actually buy the tickets. So I pressed the button and redirected to another site. You can now select your seats. Well, I was pretty happy at that moment because they're actually free seats. Well, this is what I thought, because then I was redirected another time to another website. Wait. First, you need to register a new account. Well, OK. Let's click another button. And then I was redirected. It's like, so far it was easy. I was just like, following this yellow brick road of pressing the buttons. But now I was given a real task. I need to fill this form. Well, it was pretty easy, you know. I had like my first name. I know my first name, my last name, my address. I knew everything. But then when I finished this form, I was given a really hard task. The password. And not just a password. This password must contain more than 8 characters, but less than 64. It has to contain 1 uppercase letter, 3 lowercase letter, 1 number, 1 special character. And sorry, I had to read it at least like 2 or 3 times to understand what they want from me. I said, OK, I don't have any password in mind. So I said, maybe I can just like fill this later. And I went like eat something, and I never came back. So security is important. It's really important. But this site actually lost a customer. But why am I here talking with you about passwords? Like, are we in the 1990s now? Like, password is something from the past, right? Today we have all these authentication methods, like face recognition, fingerprints, sign in with Facebook, sign in with Google, sign in with Spotify, sign in with everything you want, all the auth-n. Why are we still here talking about passwords? Well, apparently, all these methods together, only 2% of the sites in the internet today uses any authentication that is not password. 98% of the site today will let you register with only passwords. So yeah, all these methods are here, and probably they are the future. But I can promise you for the next few years that password will still be the main way for authentication. And what's the problem with passwords? It's probably the easiest way to reach a data breach. So data breaches alone, so you can find more than 2.7 billion of records of users in the internet, a lot of them tens of thousands with them are with the passwords. And all in all, data breaches cost more than $2.1 trillion yearly for companies, only these data breaches. Now, I'm pretty sure, like all of you works in companies that put security like the first most important things, and you probably hire the best expert today. But this is what all these companies thought. Like, and data breaches happen to almost any company that you can think of, from Facebook, Instagram, Microsoft, Apple. Almost every company today suffered from at least one incident. And now again, I'm sure you do everything to protect your users. But if somebody puts their hands on your users' passwords, hopefully they are hashed and salted. The only thing that can differentiate between a user that their account has been hacked and their data has been compromised from a user that is still safe is the strength of their password. Now you might say to yourself, okay, that's an easy problem to solve. Let's just force all of our users to use very strong passwords, right? Well, the problem is that it comes with a price, right? Just adding more and more means of security comes with a price that your site, and more important, your sign-up process becomes more complicated, right? Just like a week ago, I was sitting in my home trying to sign up to a site. I put a password. They told me this password is not strong enough. So I put another password. It's not strong enough. I passed this. Then they send me an email. So I need to go to my mailbox, validate my email. Then they send me an SMS for a two-factor authentication. You know, just like adding more and more means of security, yeah, it will make your site more secured, but it comes with a huge price of user-friendliness. But on the other way, just ignoring security at all and think all about just like user-friendly is also not good enough, right? You still want your site to be secured. So we'll try to find a balance between these two. Most of the time with advising users, not forcing them to do something, but advising them why they should increase their security. And anyway, you probably want to stay between, like in this green zone between advising and require. Right? You don't want to compromise security at all. And you want to stay between the advice and required. Depends on your data sensitivity. If maybe you work with financial, banking, healthcare, you want to be in the secure, like more in the secure, safe side, even if your user friendliness is not good enough. And you can also think about creative ways to find the balance. For example, maybe block some of the features in your site for only users that have strong security. Or maybe, just let them finish the sign-up and only then push them to use very strong security means. So let's start. Let's say that you have now the site and you want to build the security for your new startup or new site, and you don't have anything, you just have the product. So the first thing you want to do is first think about the security features you want to add to your site. And if you don't know, you're not sure what you want to add, the best thing we'll do is to look on the main site today, main website, and see what they have, what they offer. So I did the work for you, and I think there are like 6 main categories today. So the first category is logins, right? Features that are about logins. So password estimation was one example. Also give users a way for two-factor authentication and anything around authentication. The second thing is device or web control, which also most of the main sites have today. Let them see the connected devices that they have and open sessions, and so on. Then another field is recovery. What happens if they lost their phone or their password? A way for them to recover, and then you can see that there's some recovery mail that they can send to, recovery codes. Facebook have like the friends that can validate you, and things like that. Also, session control, this site that disconnects you after a few seconds, or disconnects you after a few seconds that you are idle, or a few minutes. And also giving your users a way for alerting if there are new sign-ins or suspicious activity. And the last field is data control, which if you support third-party apps, or if you hold their data, maybe a way for encryption method. So this was like when I checked the biggest sites today, this is like the 6 main categories that they offer. But I think more important than that, once you build maybe the main features, is think about your specific site. And building features that are not only like the general features, but also features that are contextual to your website. So I put here an example from Zoom. It might be a little small for you to read, but if I highlight the main words here, it's meeting, conference, participations. So you can see these are not like just like generic features. It's features about the UX at Zoom. So about things that happens in Zoom. So it's important to build like the common features, but also features that are more contextual to your website or your security. Then after you finish deciding what you want to build, the second thing you need to do is setting the enforcement level. So for example, I took like 3 examples of password estimation from different sites. In the first example, I don't remember where it's from, but I think it's from Amazon. So you put a password, and it doesn't even say if the password is strong or weak. Just let you continue. The second example, I think it's from Miro. So in this example, you can see they advise you, telling you how strong is your password, but they won't block you, even if it's weak. And the third one, I think it's from Google. So in here, you see they're actually blocking you. They're enforcing you to use only strong passwords. So these are 3 examples for enforcement level. And there's also another example, as I told you, if you want to be more creative. So in this example, for example, at Google, you can continue without 2-factor authentication. You can sign up to Google without 2-factor authentication. But if you want to be a developer at Google and upload, for example, plugins to the Chrome extension, you will need then to configure a 2-factor authentication. So Google lets you log in without or sign up without 2-factor authentication, but for some features, they will require that. So that's for the enforcement level. But then for the features you don't enforce, you probably want to encourage your users. Don't just like hide all your features in like the menus of the settings. You want to encourage your users to use them. Because if you hide them, a lot of them don't care so much about security, so you need to also encourage them to increase their security. This is an example from Dropbox, what we have a security tool. So in 6 simple steps, you can increase your security. And we try to push users to do that. Another example, if you have Android, you've probably seen this menu, in which sometimes Google just like pop up a menu and tells you, hey, these are the few steps, really friendly steps that you can do to increase security. And another example also from Facebook, you might have seen it. Sometimes they just like pop a notification and tell you, hey, these are really simple things that you can do, just a few steps that you can do to encourage security. So it's not only like hiding all the settings in some pages that the user might not see, also actively encourage them to increase security. And for the first part, delegation. So this is for B2B businesses. At Dropbox, we have also, I'm not sure if you know, Dropbox is a collaboration tool for syncing and sharing files. But we also have our business product, in which teams, organizations, companies can connect into one instance and collaborate with each other. And every team like this has an admin, like somebody who's in charge to set the settings for this specific team. So in our case, we have our default for all the features, like enforcement levels, but we also delegate the configuration to the admins. So for example, admins can require 2-factor authentication for their team. Even if in Dropbox the default is you can sign up without 2-factor authentication, this admin can set configuration for their teams. Or another example, device approval. So admin can set the number of devices that the team members can connect. And also web session control. So admins can configure the number of the time that the user can be idle until we're going to disconnect them. So once we build all this panel, all these features, this admin came to us and asked us, hey, Dropbox, all your competitors have this cool panel where we can configure the password strength, right? We can configure at this panel. This is an example from our competitors. So I'm, as an admin of a team, I can configure for my team the minimum required characters for their passwords. I can also require them to use numbers and the number of numbers. I can require them to use special characters and the number of special characters, and so on. As you can see, the list is really full of drop-downs and checkboxes and a lot of configuration that the admins needs to do. Now, at Dropbox, when they come to us, we're okay, this is really important for admins. This is something we're going to build, but we try to simplify things and also not only think about security, but also how we can build a product that is still user-friendly. So, what can you do to build something more user-friendly? First, you need to understand the problem that they're facing, not just copy everything that you see. And a way to understand your customers and understand their root needs, a way we can do is asking the 5 whys. And I'm not sure if you heard about the 5 whys. It's a technique started in Japan, the car manufacturing, in which if you want to understand the root cause of a defect, you ask 5 times why. Why, until you get to the root defect. And you can also use the same in product, right? If somebody come and ask you to build something, you can ask them 5 times why until you understand the root of their request, what problem they really have. So let's make an example. When these admins came to us and they asked us, hey, Dropbox, I want to have the same password controls as your competitors. And we're like, okay, you want to have that, but why? So they told us, well, I want to force my users to use long passwords with special characters, numbers, and so on. Oh, you want all these rules. Why do you want that? Obviously, I want more control over my user's password. Oh, you want more control. Why do you want that? And then they say, I want my users to use strong password. Well, really, why do you want that? I want to reduce the risk of account hijacking. Oh, now we understand you better. You want to reduce the risk of account hijacking. Well, why do you want that? And then after the 5 whys, some people say it's even more than that. You get the final answer. What they want is to keep their team's files safe. And they want to do this by enforcing the users to use strong passwords. So they don't really want all this panel with configuration. They want their users to use strong password. So first we need to understand, before we're going to build this, we first need to understand what a strong password is. So I put here 2 passwords. One is Troubadour with some tweaks in it, and Blue Giraffe plays ball. So this is just like a small demonstration. So let's make a short poll. Raise your hand if you think Troubadour with the tweaks is a better password. Cool, I see some hands here. So Blue Giraffe plays ball, who thinks this is a better password? Cool, some more hands. So I don't know, really. I have no idea, but there's something I always do when I don't know something. As I told you, this small trick, it's called Google. So let's Google that, right? Google, what's considered to be a good password? And the answer Google gave me goes like this. A good password must contain 4 elements. It has to have 6 characters or more, also mixed cases of upper and lower case, numbers, and special characters. Well, I put these 2 passwords into a table to check which one is better according to this definition. And I see Troubadour has all these elements, while Blue Giraffe plays ball. Not so. So it was really easy to call the winner. So good work, the one who voted for the Troubadour. But when I went to sleep that day, I recalled a story I really liked as a kid. It's called Alibaba. And in that story, there's a very famous not this Alibaba, sorry. This Alibaba, the very famous password. It's called Open Sesame. And this password, right, it doesn't have any upper or lowercase, numbers, special characters. This was invented long before somebody even can think about computers. So there must be a better definition for a good password, right? So what do you do when Google doesn't give you your answer? You go to comics books. So there's a comic, actually an internet comic books called XKCD. I hope you know it, and if not, Google that. XKCD, it's one of the best. And the answer the definition from there was much better. A good password must contain 2 elements. It has to be hard to guess, but still easy to remember. That's all you need for a good password. So let's take this password and see which one is better. So hard to guess is the number of guesses required to crack a password, right? So let's do a naive estimation. The number of guesses you need to crack a password is the cardinality in the power of the length. Okay, this is a little spooky math. So what's the cardinality? The cardinality is the number of options you have for a single character. Now let's say you have 26, in the alphabet English, only lowercase, you have 26 options. And then if you add uppercase numbers, special characters, you have 95 options for a single character. And if you have a password, 6 letters, so the number of guesses you need to guess the first letter is 26, then second letter 26, 26 multiplied by 26, multiplied by 26 6 times, it's 26 to the power of 6. And if you add special characters, numbers, and so on, it's 95 to the power of 6. Now, cracking the first password with only lowercase letters in the ratio of 1,000 guesses per second will take you only 15 days. And if you have all these numbers, uppercase, and so on, it will take you 140 years, which is actually uncrackable. So now you see where all these rules came from, right? The longer the password, the more cardinality you use, the harder the password will be to guess. But we're humans, right? We're not robots. At least I'm not a robot. So for me, just trying to think about a password with all random letters, numbers, special characters is impossible. And if I sign up to many sites and want to use different passwords, it's literally impossible. So what most of the people do, they use these patterns. So let's make now a more realistic estimation for the troubadour, right? It's not just a random letters and numbers and so on. There we're using a pattern here. So troubadour is a word, uncommon word in English, one from the dictionary you can find in the size of 2 to the power of 16 words. Then there are some tweaks here. The first tweak is just uppercase or lowercase the first letter. This is what many people do. Then there are 3 letters here. It can be lit. So I don't know if you're familiar with lit. It's visual transformation language. When people take the O, turn it into a 0, take the A, turn it into 4, A to 3. There are just like a few rules. People think it's really sophisticated, but actually it takes like two guesses for a computer, right? You can have here we have 3 letters. Each one can be either lited or not. So it only adds 2 to the power of 3 options. Then you have a special characters. We have 16 options, a number, 1 of 10, and then the order between them, there are 2 options. So if we take a more realistic approach, estimating this password, you see that you can guess it in 2 to the power of 28 guesses. It will take you only 3 days. So this password is not really hard to guess. And what about the second one? Blue giraffe plays ball. It has 4 common words in English. So if you sum it up, you'll find that you need 2 to the power of 44 guesses to crack this password, which is 550 years in this ratio. Now, I don't know about you. I don't think I've lived so long to see this password cracked. So we talked about the harder to guess, but then we said about the second element is easy to remember. So the first one was easy to remember. It was a trombone. No, sorry. It was a troubadour. And there's some question mark. What did we use there? Ampersand, I think. And also we listed a few letters. Like, who knows, really? I've done this talk a few times before. And honestly, I have no idea what's the original password. But the second one is pretty easy, right? Blue giraffe plays ball. Says blue giraffe plays ball. So now we know actually which password with a realistic estimation is better. Let's make another example from the real world, okay? Let's say we have this password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, exclamation mark. Now you don't need me here to tell you this is a very weak password, but anyway, let's do the estimation. So The first part is password. It's the first password you find in any dictionary, any password dictionary. The second one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the second most common password you find in any dictionary. Then there's exclamation mark. You have 16 options. So all in all, it won't take you more than 19 guesses to crack this. You can crack this in a second. So I wanted to check. So I took this password and put it into probably the biggest site today you can think of. I first put this password in Gmail when I signed up. I want to see how Gmail is going to estimate this password. What do you think? Well, Google told me this is a very strong password. Full bar. Well, I thought maybe they didn't do a good work there. Maybe Facebook will do a better job. Well, actually not. Same password also, they told me it's really strong. So I took this password, Twitter. I wasn't that optimistic at the time, but Twitter also, I get a full bar. You can't get better than that. And in Apple, I only needed to uppercase the first letter, and also I'm passing all the rules, so this might be a really strong password. Now, this is not only like probably a bad estimation, but it also can mislead users to use bad passwords. But what if we have a tool, right, that can take the password that we put without putting aside all these rules, can break it like we did into these words or the parts, and then do a more sophisticated, realistic estimation? Well, we're lucky that we have this tool. It's called ZXCVBN. And ZXCVBN, if you wonder about the name, just the letters on your keyboard, the bottom line from the left. It was built 10 years ago by Dan Wheeler. It's open sourced under MIT in GitHub, so you can do whatever you want with that. And it has more than 10K stars, so it's really popular. I think it's the most popular password estimator today. And if you worry about the data and how fast it works really fast. So it's easy to implement also. You do npm install. If it's JavaScript, then you run Node, and you just need to call ZXCVBN first require, and then it's only one line. ZXCVBN with your password, and you get back the entire analysis of your password, the parts, each part, how much it will take to crack in a realistic world. And as I said, it's really fast and light, so it's implemented in almost any language, at least the common languages from Java, Ruby, Golang, Python. Most of the languages that are used today, also pretty fast, 2 to 20 milliseconds to estimate the passwords. And it's really lightweight, so less than the code itself, less than 50 kilobytes, and the data is less than, with all the dictionaries, is less than 1 megabyte. So you can actually start and use this library. And 5 years ago, I think 5 years after this library was out, Bill Burr, the one who came up with all these composition rules, all these numbers, special characters, he regretted this. He said that this was all a huge mistake. He came up with all these rules in 2003. And in 2017, he said this was a huge mistake. He probably didn't estimate how users are going to use patterns. So after his recommendation, he also went to the NIST, the National Institute of Standard Technologies, and they also refreshed the recommendations for passwords. So the first thing is say, no more password hints. This is no longer recommended. Also, knowledge-based authentication. All these questions that you got, what's your first school? What's your pet's name? What did you eat for breakfast? I know all these questions are no longer recommended, and no more expiration without reason. Because again, users, what they were doing is just like using templates. Password 1, then they had to refresh the password, so they did password 2, password 3. So these are also not longer recommended. And the most important things, no composition rules. So all these special characters, numbers, are no more recommended. So now when we understand what a good password is, let's go back to our problem, right? Our admins came to us and asked us, hey, can you build us this panel with all these configurations? So we understood the problem, what they want. They just want to enforce their users to use strong passwords. So instead of building this, we built that. One dropdown, the admin can require the users either not require at all, require them to use a strong password, or very strong passwords. That's all. And this was actually a win-win-win situation, right? Because first, it was win for us, development, product, and designers, because building this was much simpler than building all the panels. The designer didn't think about how you put all this in one screen. We engineers, we didn't need to think about all the edge cases or do all this code. Building this was much simpler, right? The UI, you only have one dropdown, and then in the back end or in the front end, just call this library, get the answer, and check if the user is good enough or not. And it was also a win for the team admins, because they have this simple UI. They don't need to think. They didn't care about all these rules and everything. They only have one dropdown. They take the decision really fast, and they don't have any edge cases again. They just one decision that they take, and they can continue doing their job. And it was also more secure, so more powerful security tool for our end users and also admins, because we have a much better tool to estimate the password and much better tool to enforce them to use strong password, not based on some random rules from 20 years ago. Cool, that's all. So let's wrap it all up now and talk about the conclusion. So the first thing we talked about is finding the balance between user-friendliness and security. So we talked about building the tools. First, decide what you want to build. Start from the most common security feature that most of the sites have today, and then add more and more contextual features. Then once you have the features, make the decisions. Each one of them, you need to decide how much you want to enforce on your users. Then, the ones you decided not to enforce, don't just hide them in menus. Encourage your users to use a feature, give them notification from time to time, send them emails, tell them about these features and why it's important, and also make it friendly so they can easily understand what they do. Then for B2B businesses, for B2B companies, also you can delegate some of the decisions to the team admins. Then after we talk about the balance, understanding the balance, we talked about one specific use case that we had, the password estimation. We first talked about why it's so important. So passwords still cover 98% of the sites in the internet, and it's the #1 fault for data breaches. Then we talked about the what. What is a good password, right? Only 2 elements, hard to guess, but easy to remember. Then we talked about how you do it. So we've seen a more realistic manual way to break the words into the parts and find the patterns. But I also gave you a library so you can go and check your passwords and hopefully use it in your product. But I think more important is not just this specific use case, with what we can actually learn from this for other things that we have. And I think the first thing is, don't automatically build everything your customers ask you to. What they probably do is just see what your competitors have and ask you to copy and do the same. So if you want to be initiative and you want to be better than your competitors, you first need to understand your customers' problems from the root cause. Then you can go outside of the box and think about more creative ways. And the way to do this is by asking the 5 whys. Ask 5 times why until you really understand what the problem that they have and not the solution they want to build. Then once you understand, as engineers, you understand the problem, you can come with more smart solutions. In this case, this was implemented by using a dynamic programming algorithm. I didn't show it today, but if you want, I didn't have time, but if you want, you can come to me after this talk and I'll show you how it works. But this is a smart algorithm. This is the reason it works so fast. Also, you can use machine learning for many things, or just APIs from other sites to make your site more secure. Really, we as an engineer, we have our power, the secret power that we have, that we can think about really smart ways and smart algorithms to do things simpler and more secure. And the most important, early conversation between product, research, designers, and engineers from the very first steps of the product. So are there any designers here or product? Not really. I see all of you are engineers. So, but if you go back and you need to give, like, if I have to give like one tip for product engineers, is really make sure that engineers are really there from the very first step, because they can actually bring really smart solutions that maybe product designers can't think about. So all here are engineers. So one tip I can give you as an engineer: don't be a code monkey, really. Don't just get tasks, from your product and designers and just like implement everything. Try to be more, more initiative. So try to go to understand the customer. If you can go to some research sessions or actually meet the customers and understand them better, only then you can, bring your powers and bring good features. So really the only way to build features that are both secured and also has a user-friendly interfaces is if we work together, product engineers and designer, from the very first steps of the project. That's all. So thanks for XKCD, who inspired this talk and also inspired Dan Wheeler to build this library. And I'll be here a few minutes to answer your questions, if you have anything, but also you can come to me after this session. If you're shy, you can come to me after this session and ask me a question. Also, if you want to see the algorithm. And if you're still shy, you can always find me in LinkedIn. I have here the LinkedIn. So this is a QR code. So I'm really open to answer any question that you have or just for feedback. And if you want to give me feedback in the formal way through this conference, I'd really be smart if you can rate my talk, give it 5 stars. And give it like whatever you want. Really, I'm really welcoming feedback, good things they can improve, and so on. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Of course, we're all shy because we're software developers after all, and as a neurophysiologist, I can state that our brain, it learns from doing, and if we are doing computers, we're better and better with computers and worse with humans, because we learn what we do and we do computers. So let's start our discussion here, and after that in the discussion zone. Please.
Hello, thank you for the interesting talk. And I have a question. In real world, the users use password managers, saved password into browsers, and so on. And the only password that matters is the master password. We can build a system with strong and good user experience and so on, but user will enter only the master password. And it's the same thing that authentication through Google or other systems that can identify or verify a user. What do you think about passwordless security? We are at the age of it, I think.
Yeah, as I said, like there are more. So first, this talk was for you as an engineers to use like this in your sites. As a users, always like use a password manager. Also, okay, I'm here like in the name of Dropbox. So Dropbox also has this password manager. If you want to use it, it's really great. And as a users, always use, password is probably not like what you should use. If you have any other option, use that. I'm talking about like as an engineers, when you build site and you use a password, because still passwords are still here. So this was for the first part. And I said at the beginning, like give your users more options, passwordless, more authentication with other more secured ways. But for the next years, we'll still have passwords here. This is what users are used to. Hopefully it will disappear in the next years, but I'm not that optimistic. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, next question, please.
Yeah, hello. I'd like to ask about win-win slide.
Okay.
As an admin, I can see the one recommendation, one condition about strong password, and it's great UI.
Yeah.
But about end user. As an end user, I'll try, for example, password 12345, and what will I see in this case?
So this is a good question. The library also gives you it's not as you said. Like, I think it's a good question because the downside, I didn't have the time to talk about that. But there is one downside when you use scoring algorithms and not like applying for really specific rules. You can't always, not always easy to understand why the score is low. In our case, this library also gives you the main reasons. It tries to find like the main reasons. But yeah, there's a downside. It's not always easy, you know, like to give you some specific rules.
Okay, thank you.
But it does do a good job in trying to find like the reason the score is low.
I almost forgot about our tradition to gift a small souvenir for the person who asked the best questions. So can you please track the questions and after the session name the best one?
Okay.
Okay, this is hard actually, so please try to somehow track and rate them.
Thank you for the talk. And again, about UI, I kind of got the idea the password is still here, and so that you have that UI. But why do you have it at all? I mean, there is one option, and who chooses to not use strong passwords? Where you use the statistics, tell about it, and I mean, what are the reasons for it? Why would you choose it?
I'm not sure I understood the question. Sorry, can you repeat it? So you're asking about the users? Maybe I can see it from here.
So yeah, I'm right here. So you have this UI, and you can choose, what are the options? You can choose strong passwords, and what else?
As an admin, you mean? Like
Yes, yes.
When you said the admin, So the admin has three options: either not to require the user to use like any strength, strong password, and very strong password.
Yeah. So why it even exists? I mean, why didn't you choose some one options? Why doesn't it fit all your users?
Like, why do we have like 3 levels?
Yeah, yeah.
Because some admins don't want to require the users to use any strong password. Like, this is the default, right? In Dropbox, you don't need to use a strong password. So some admins won't care so much about that. But as you saw, like, some admins came to us and asked us, can you build me this feature? So we gave them also the option to enforce strong password. And some admins want to enforce really strong password. You know, some, as I said, like healthcare, finance. Some are really, some admins really want like security is above everything. So we gave them the option to use their enforcement level. Is that answering your question?
Okay, yeah, but I mean, still like not requiring any password strength is like, doesn't make sense.
The business insists, like, for example, accounting department, they do not want to set strong passwords.
No.
So for business, the choice is like to have a scandal with accounting department or give them an ability to use weak passwords, but just ensure that they use them in their private contour. And sometimes for business, it's much more plausible to just give them an ability to use weak passwords and ensure security with other means.
Hi, my name is Fodor, and I have practical questions regarding to the algorithm. The first question is it fast enough to run inside the browser, in real time, And the second is, do you have some specific metrics that show the effect of the application of this library, number of correct accounts, malicious activity, maybe?
So the library runs inside your website. It's pretty simple. I don't think we have any failures. It runs very fast. Like I said, like 5 to 20 milliseconds. So far, I didn't see any failure. Like, it's not like a web server or something that can actually fail. It's just an algorithm. If it has bugs, probably had in the past, and it was corrected. Yeah, so it depends like the way you run it, right? But it's really fast, and as I said, really lightweight. You can also read the code. It's in GitHub, and you see it's not like a huge code base, so you can read everything. So far didn't see any like failures. And
what about measuring its impact?
Like, what do you mean impact? Impact on what?
Okay, I mean some measure. Maybe you have metrics that show the number of correct accounts or malicious activity.
So
what impact, business impact had the use of this?
So I am not visible to that. Also, I think it's like more like a thing I can't cover here, you know, these kind of numbers. But we can talk maybe later. I can talk personally.
Next question, please.
Hello. So thank you very much for presentation. So if I understand correctly, like the whole like idea is about like have, find, delegate to smart algorithms and like trust to them job. For example, in your presentation, the company admin should trust to you that you in that strong and very strong, so he don't have control, he just should trust to you. And then you trust to that library that do analysis for you. So isn't that, so for example, that library could be compromised, right? What if someone have access to GitHub and then did malicious commit that will like always say good password? So do you, let's say, you encourage us to use, let's say, this library or any other thing, but how you find balance between like to delegate or trust to any solution and build it inside Dropbox? So if I understand correctly, this library build it inside Dropbox. It's not like it's open source, but it's like your own. So do you, for example, will use something else from Google or from any other company in like sensitive situations like this?
Yeah, so I think the question is probably more than just password estimation, but more about how you use third-party like libraries. And we have like, yeah, we do like we try to use first. We try to use everything inside Dropbox. We have our security means, you know, to protect from from the theft. As I said, we try to build everything inside Dropbox and protect everything in GitHub. And we do use third-party libraries like Google. Obviously, you know, we're using React.js and other libraries. We can't avoid these today, but we put everything everything that we can. We have like first security checks for everything. Like a developer can just download anything in the internet. We have a process, a really security process. We check everything what we build. We check the security. And we do everything to protect. Even if we use third-party like libraries, we have like a security process that you need to finish if you want to use. And for this one, this is like Dropbox GitHub, so we do everything to protect that also. And there are many means.
And unit test for the rescue.
Yeah.
Please, next question.
Hello, thank you for presentation. I'm here. I have a general question. In your own opinion, do you think that this password-based flow is looking rare and obsolete now? What it can be replaced with in nearest future? What do you think about?
I'm not an expert in like all this authentication method today, but we have like probably fingerprints are replacing most of the things. So I think many use authn, which is the new future. So you authenticate once, and then you can connect to any sites. This is what I think is the future. We have like in the meantime, we have the login with Facebook and Google, and we also like in my company, we obviously use SSO, which is also a good solution for now. You log in once to your company, and they handle all the security. But in the future, probably we also can deprecate that and also use fingerprint, face recognition, or something that is stronger than just typing some passwords.
Yeah, right. New future where you scratch your finger and you can't do anything anymore. Next question, please.
Hello, thank you for interesting talk again. So my question is about like you were showing the results of like password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the results on Gmail, Facebook that like they were showing it was strong. So have you tried to play with it and see how it tries to understand the strongness of the password? So do they use like some Bloom filter with predefined weak passwords or something like this?
I guess it's based on the same rules, right? Because when I remove the exclamation mark, it says this is not a strong password. Then you add numbers, it tells this is not a strong password. And then when you add some special characters, numbers, so you can see each one. Once you add these, it's like it jumps, or also the length. So it's really based on like the old rules: length, special characters, upper and lower, and so on.
Okay.
Thank you. The time is up. I suggest all our questions to be asked in our special discussion area. And now the most tricky part of your talk. Which question was the best one?
All the questions were great.
But you need to choose one. You need to.
I can't go away without it?
You want me to choose?
Yeah, you choose.
Okay, so let's do some random. 1 second, please. Let me roll a dice. Dice. 10 seconds. I need to first put double colon, then dice, and it's rolls. Yeah, it's rolls. Yes.
I'm adding sound effects. And the winner is?
No, network. So Telegram can't actually stop it. It's just rolling and rolling and rolling. Okay. I do not remember the exact question, but the prize goes to this person. Applause, please. And now, thank you.